I'm so sorry that I kept you guys waiting, but I seriously was living the situation up until a couple of hours ago. Quick recap, I went out with a guy that I matched with on Hinge on Saturday night, and it ended up going absolutely terrible. So it's me and my friend. He tells us to show up to his Airbnb at a certain time to pregame with like all the rest of his friends. Right when we get there, off the bat, the vibes are off. There's like 3 other girls there. They're getting ready. I introduce myself. Like I walk up the stairs and I'm like, hi guys, like I'm Winnie, nice to meet you, because I'm not the bitch that's not about to say hi. When they said hi, it was just like very cold, very annoying. And the Hinge match kept saying like, God, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm sorry that I had to bring you guys into this vibe. Let's go up to the roof and just like drink there. So we go up to the rooftop. He's chatting about how it's his birthday, how he had rented this Airbnb and how they were being absolutely terrible. They didn't care that it was his birthday. They didn't want to go to any of the places that he wanted to go. And I felt really bad. So me and my friend, we were like, look, just hang out with us. Like, we're going to go out, we're going to have a good time, and we're going to celebrate your birthday. I did start to notice though that he was starting to pay more attention to my friend, like ask her more questions and just be a little bit more intrigued in her life. It's not really important to the story, but I just wanted to give you guys like the vibes. So it's me, my friend, Hinge guy, his friend. He really wanted to go to this club called Havana. So it's his birthday. We're like, we're going to do whatever you want to do. His friend calls the Uber. We go down from the roof and we leave and we get in the Uber. The moment we get out of the Uber, I realize that I didn't have my purse. So I'm looking around for my purse. I'm looking at them. I'm like, guys, I don't have my purse. The Uber is driven away. Can you try messaging the Uber? I'm talking to his friend at this point because his friend's the one that called the Uber. Like, can you try messaging him and asking him if the purse is in there? He's like, yeah, okay, I'll do it. But chances are your purse is probably in the house. You probably left it there or you probably left it on the rooftop. I was like, you know what? At this point I was a little bit tipsy. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, probably. Honestly, it's probably there. So like, no big deal. I also really did not want to ruin this man's birthday and make it about myself. So I was kind of just like, okay, like hopefully it's at the house. It probably is. And then we can just have a good night. We're at Havana. We're having a good time. I kind of noticed that like at this point that he's like really interested in my friend. So I'm starting to just get like turned off. I'm like, okay, like whatever, it is what it is. After a couple hours, we were lit. We were like, let's head back to the Airbnb. And here's where shit got stressful because it escalated so fast. The moment we get back to his Airbnb, he's like, shh, shh, be quiet. You have to be quiet. The girls are sleeping. Like, don't say a peep. Like, don't say a word. He's not even letting us stay in the house. He's literally saying, go back up to the roof where it's cold as hell. We were drinking. He's like, shh, shh, every little thing we say, if we giggle, if we talk, he would be like, shh, shh, shh. Meanwhile, we weren't even being loud. Like, we were trying to be as respectful as we possibly could be. But it was the fact that every little noise we made, this man was like, guys, you guys are being too loud. It was like, honestly, it just gave me, it gave me the ick. Like, we get up to the roof, we're talking, we're telling him like how cold we are and how we want to go back inside. And so he's like, fine, like, let's go downstairs. I'm thinking he's going to take us to the kitchen. No, he takes us down one flight of stairs because there's 3 flights of stairs in this condo. It's like layer 1, layer 2, layer 3 rooftop. He takes us down the first flight of stairs and like pushes us into his room and locks the door and like closes the door. It was at this moment that I remembered that I still hadn't found or looked for my purse. So I tell him, I'm like, oh my God, I completely forgot to look for my purse. Have you talked to the Uber? I look at his friend and I'm like, hey, have you talked to the Uber driver? Have you heard anything? He's like, no, I haven't heard anything. I'm like, can I go and like look in your kitchen? Maybe I left it on the roof. He looks me dead in my eye and is like, shh, shh, no, you can't, no, no, no. I'm looking at him in shock and disbelief. I'm like, what do you mean no? I need to find my purse. My keys to my home are in there and the keys to my car are in there. If I don't find them, like, I'm literally stuck. He proceeds to tell me again, no, I'm sorry, but you can't go look. By this point, his friend had left the room and disappeared. It'd been like 20 or 30 minutes now. So I'm sitting here, I'm like, well, can we try to contact the Uber? Like, can we please do something? Because us just sitting here and you guys just staring at me is stressing me out. Like, I'm getting nervous. Like, I need to find my shit. At this point, I'm starting to cry. Him and my friend are sitting on the bed. I'm like scooched into a corner, like balled up, crying. Him and my friend are looking at me like I'm fucking insane. I am pleading with this man to please let me go check the roof. Let me go check the kitchen. Like, let me just leave this room. And he's still saying no. At this point, I don't feel like my friend is supporting me at all, and it's 2 against 1, and I'm feeling very, very ganged up on. So I'm like, okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go to the bathroom because there was a bathroom attached to the room. I'm like, and you guys can sit here, and I'm gonna go to the bathroom, and I'm gonna call Corey, my baby daddy. I go into the bathroom because talking to them is not helping. I am still drunk and I'm trying my hardest to still be respectful to this man. So I go into the bathroom, I call Corey crying. Corey is like stressed out. He's like, what's going on? What's happening? I'm telling him what's happening. I'm like, I'm trying to tell them I need to find my keys. I need to find my car keys, you know, and my house keys because I can't get into my house. Like I'm explaining this to Corey. Corey's like, I don't understand. Like, what's the issue? Like, why can't you look for your shit? And that's what I'm saying. I'm like, dude, no one's listening to me, dude. Not even my friend. Like, she wasn't even listening to me. Yes, I was intoxicated, but at the same time, like, I was still very much aware that I needed to find my shit. My friend whips open the bathroom door and she's like, we can hear you talking out here. Like, we can hear you talking shit. And I'm like, okay, but you guys are not helping me. So I had to call Corey to be like, hey, come help me because they're not helping me. I felt like no one was listening to me. It was giving like angry black women freaking out for no reason. At that point, I was really mad at my friend. I had cussed her out because I was like, leave me alone. She ends up storming off. I think she ends up like leaving the room and she's like, fuck it, I'm out of here. She storms off. She leaves. I'm sitting there like crying to Corey, like, hey, like, what do I do? I'm still begging this man, like, can I please just go check? Like, let me just go look. He's still saying no. About 5 minutes later, my friend tries to call me and tells me like, let's go. I called the Uber and I'm sitting here like, no, I already called my child's father. I don't want to hop in the car with you and just be screaming at each other. Like, I'm not arguing with you about this. Like, I'm not doing it. So I completely was like, you go. So she ends up leaving. And another reason why I didn't want to leave is because I still didn't have my shit, right? Like, they didn't even live in Georgia. The moment I would have left, I would have never heard from them again. So I'm talking to the Hinge guy. It's just me and him at this point. And I'm like, can you go ask your friend if the Uber driver has said anything? Like, give me the Uber driver's number. Like, I will go, but like, I need some connection so that I can try to get my purse back. He's screaming back at me like, why are you blaming us? Like, we didn't do anything. He's talking about him and my friend. He's like, we didn't do anything and you're getting mad at us. And I'm sitting here like, I'm not getting mad at you guys. I am just like asking for empathy. Like, help me find my bag. Like, actually care at the fact that I lost my shit. I do take responsibility for losing my shit. That's all on me, but I'm just asking for you to maybe care? Like, what? I really did try to fit this whole story into 10 minutes. I'm so sorry. You're gonna have to go to part 2. This is part 2 of me meeting up with a guy on Hinge and it going terribly wrong. If you haven't watched part 1 yet, please go back and watch it. It will be the video right before this one. At this point, I am still bawling and crying to this man, and some other guy, some random guy that hasn't been there the entire night shows up and he's like, you gotta go. Like, you need to leave. I'm like, listen, I'm trying to explain to him. I'm like, I just need my purse. Like, my car is out there. It's parked in front of an abandoned house. It's a little bit ghetto. I can't leave my car here. I can't get into my home. I have nowhere to go. Can you please just like talk to the guy who ordered the Uber or help me find my damn purse? Hinge guy and his friend are like, no, you gotta go. You gotta get out. They are pushing me down like the stairs. Like, both of them are like, you gotta go. You gotta go now. Corey's still on the phone. This entire time, I had still stayed respectful. Like, I still wasn't screaming. I still wasn't loud. But I'm gonna be honest with you guys. At that point, knowing that my shit was about to be lost to the void, I was fucking livid. I look straight at Hinge guy and I'm like, God is gonna see this. Like, the karma that you're gonna get for doing this when all you have to do was help me find my purse or let me look in your house. Like, you're gonna, and I'm screaming at the top of my lungs at this point because I'm livid. I'm like, dude, have some empathy, like compassion, something. You could literally see the fear on this man's face. He was like, I didn't do anything. Like, you know, it's not my fault you lost your purse. And it's like, it's literally not about that. It's the fact that you won't even help me find it. At this point, I'm not explaining this to him. I'm just like popping off because at this point, they had kicked me out on the doorstep and had closed the door. I am bawling to Corey at this point because losing your keys and losing your house keys is like such a traumatic experience. I can't even explain it. It's happened to me. It's happened to me once before and it's like the worst feeling ever. Corey took about an hour to get there because he lives a little bit further from Atlanta than I do. But in between that time, I ended up calling the non-emergency line and they ended up coming out and knocking on the door and literally were like, well, if they don't answer, there's literally nothing we can do. Corey picks me up, which for those of you guys who don't know, Corey is my child's father. He picks me up. He's being super nice to me. He's being super optimistic. He's like telling me like, it's going to be okay. You're just drinking right now. So it's like, everything's super heightened. It's going to be fine. But trust me, like, I felt like such an idiot. Like, I felt like such a failure. I was like, oh my God, I literally can't even get into my own house. He ends up dropping me off at my sister's house and I end up sleeping on her couch that night. But I was so mad. Like, I was still so angry. I literally sent that man a voice note and I was like, I I'm not proud of this, but I was mad, okay? I was like, listen, my dad is Ghanaian, I'm African, like, I'm gonna put a hex on you, like, you're gonna wish you're gonna rue the day. At this point, he had unmatched me on everything. He had blocked me on Instagram. I had to just take the L and move on and admit that I fucked up. The next day, I literally had to go back to the location. I had to hire a locksmith to get a new car key made. Corey helped me get into my house, change my locks, and then after all of that was done, I get a text message from Hinge guy. He sends me a message and he's like, good news, the Uber driver has your purse. He told me that I have to pay $80 for him to bring it back. So just letting you know that you can come pick it up as soon as I get home. Can't tell you guys how happy I was that my purse was found. He sent that text message and then ghosted me for like 5 hours. By the time that he replied back, it was 11 o'clock at night and he was like, my bad, I was out, but it's at my house if you want to come pick it up. Well, I'm with my son at that point, so like, no, I can't come pick it up, but I'll come pick it up in the morning. He's like, all right, bet, come before 9:30 a.m. So a couple of hours ago, I drove back to the location in Atlanta and I picked up my purse. My Shayla. My Shayla. I'm so happy to see this thing. And everything was in it. I'd already canceled my cards and everything. But I'm so happy. Now I have an extra key, like, and when I got there to pick it up, he kept saying that he did his good deed. And that, like, he's like, I don't know why you were blaming me, but, like, just letting you know, like, I had to pay $80 to get that back here. Like, I've done my good deed. And I'm literally sitting here thinking that he's probably stressed out and thinks that I'm really gonna put a damn hex on him because the way he was acting was like, he was afraid of me. Anyway, I didn't even argue with him. I grabbed my purse. I got out of there. Honestly, don't know what I would have done without my baby daddy, without Corey. So huge shout out to that man. Anyway, I will not be doing this again anytime soon. One thing a man will always try to do is humble you. And girl, the past couple of days have been low-key stressful. I just don't have time for bullshit. But I blame this on my cautious optimism because I always want to see the best in people or give people the benefit of the doubt. In order for this to make sense, I have to backtrack. So about a month and a half ago, I matched with this guy on Hinge. He lives in Florida. The same day we match, boom, we're on a phone call together. He's literally talking about how he's gonna come to Atlanta. He's gonna book an Airbnb. Everything was moving like really fast, too fast. The next day, he literally sends me the booking for the Airbnb, like picture and everything. He had planned to come see me that following Friday. At this point, I'm getting really suspicious. It's kind of giving love bombing. So I'm like, let me do a little research. Now, there is this group on Facebook called Are We Dating the Same Guy? It is like more of a secret. It's supposed to be kind of hush-hush and you're not supposed to talk about it outside of the Facebook group. But the story would not make sense if I didn't mention it. So anyway, there are different pages for Are We Dating the Same Guy in different cities. So you may have a page for Atlanta. You may have a page for Virginia. At this point, me and this man have been talking for 2 days and he is still hyping everything up. He's like, we're gonna go ice skating. We're gonna do this. We're gonna try this coffee spot. And I'm sitting here like, this is a lot for someone that I matched with 2 days ago. So I run to Are We Dating the Same Guy? But there's a problem. He lives in Florida and I am only a member of Are We Dating the Same Guy? Atlanta and surrounding areas. And you may be thinking, Winnie, you're doing too much. Like, just see how it plays out. No, because one, my gut is telling me that something is off. And two, I'm not gonna waste my time getting my hopes up. I'm gonna figure this shit out now. So I post in the Atlanta group and I ask someone that's in the Florida Fort Lauderdale group to post this person in that group. Did that make sense? And there are some real girls in that group because off the bat, maybe about 10 minutes later, a woman commented and was like, I'm in that group. I would love to post for you. And I'm sorry, I had to add this, but there's also girls in that group that aren't girls. So I needed to let that be known, okay? Like clockwork, she replies back and she's like, I found something. Detective Sally over here, bitch. She figured it out. It was a post in the Florida Fort Lauderdale Are We Dating the Same Guy Facebook group talking about how he had asked a girl on a date, hyped it all up. She got dressed, she got ready, and then he ghosted her. He canceled the moment they're supposed to go on the date. Then there was another comment from a completely different woman saying the same thing. My suspicions were right. My suspicions were correct. At this point, all interest is lost because I know his plan. He's telling me he's gonna come to Atlanta, he booked an Airbnb, and then last minute, he's gonna be like, ghost. At this point, I tell the story on here, and everyone is still telling me that I should give this guy a chance. I literally could not do it. And everybody kept saying, don't say anything, just see how it plays out. Don't tell him that you know about blah, blah, blah. Just see how it plays out. I just couldn't do it, so I ended up falling off. I ended up ghosting. A month and a half later, a day ago, I get a text message from this man. In the text message, he says, I just want to know what happened. He had then told me that he had seen my TikTok videos. He had seen my TikTok videos and it made him more interested in knowing why I just stopped talking to him. So clearly he had not seen the video about him. I didn't really know what to say. I chalked it up to like, oh, I'm sorry, I got super busy. It just wasn't a good time for me, yada, yada, yada. Then he says, I will be honest with you. Like, I still want to get to know you. At this point, I'm thinking, I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm like, maybe I should have given this guy a chance. And although I am cautious, I say, why not? I guess I'd be open to that. Well, the moment that this man got the green light, he was back to planning another trip to Atlanta. Looks like I gotta plan another trip to Atlanta. What week will work for you? And this is the part where he felt the need to humble me because right after I gave him a date, he ghosted me. He got me a little. He did, because I was kind of optimistic. I was kind of like, damn, maybe I should give this guy a chance. No, nope. He ghosted me. That man had to get his lick back. Or maybe he wanted me to tell a story about him on my page because he did kind of mention, like as a joke, like, maybe I'll make it onto your page. Ha, 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 ha. Well, Steven, you made it on my page. But you're never going to see it because, I blocked you. All done with the makeup. I hope everyone has a beautiful day today. Mwah. Love you guys.
When I was 21, I went on a date with a 40-year-old man. I didn't know he was 40 at the time, and obviously he ended up being a huge creep. But he sent me one of the most ridiculous messages I've ever received in my life. And this is my favorite story to tell. I tell everyone. I think it's so funny. And you just have to see the message. So important context here is that this was 2012. I was 21 and I was living in Provo, Utah. And at the time I was Mormon. And so was this guy. And so was basically everyone I interacted with. So I started getting messages from this guy. We'll call him Joey. That's not his real name, but we'll call him Joey. And I started getting messages from him on Facebook. And I didn't know who he was, so I wasn't responding, but he kept asking me out on Facebook. And then a mutual friend of ours, Brad, came to me and was like, my friend Joey wants to take you out. And I was like, isn't he old? Like, I'm not really interested. And Brad also was like, I don't know how old he is, but like, you should just go out with him. Whatever. Anyway, he convinced me to go out with this guy. So Joey picks me up. He drives me like 30 minutes north to Salt Lake City, and we went to a Jazz game. And on the drive there, he tells me his whole life story, which, sure, whatever, first date, but like, I don't think he asked me a single question the entire 30-minute drive there. Unbeknownst to him, as he's telling me his life story, I'm in the passenger seat counting up the years because he's telling me from high school to present time his whole life story. So he's like, yeah, I played college basketball for a couple of years, and then I served a Mormon mission, which is another 2 years, and then I played basketball again for 2 years, and then I played overseas for a few years, and then I went to get my MBA and worked on Wall Street and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, he's telling me all these things that he's done, and I'm over here like, this guy is at least 37 years old with no breaks in between anything he's done. So at that point, I'm like, this guy is way too old to be dating me, right? Like, way too old to be dating a 21-year-old. I start feeling weird, but what am I gonna do? We're driving to Salt Lake City. Date ends, whatever, he takes me home. I'm like, never going out with that guy again. And my friend, Brad, asks me, like, did you like him? And I'm like, not really. Also, he's like way older than me. Like, why did you let me go out with him? Another thing that I always point out, and people will laugh at this, but like, when you meet someone and you can just like tell that there's something off about them, this man has like black eyes. Every photo I've ever seen of him, he has like red eye because his eyes are like pitch black. And I always say when I'm telling this story, like, I feel like he has Satan in his eyes. Like, they are just like black pits. Anyway, so after that, my friend Brad told Joey that I thought he was too old to date me, which is true. During this time, I start talking to my other mutual friends with this guy. And they are all like, yeah, he does go out with young girls, blah, blah, blah. I don't actually know exactly how old he is. But then we finally pin it down. Somebody's like, he's 39. So he's 18 years older than me, which means that he could have had me as his child, as a legal adult, and he's closer to my dad's age than he is to mine. Gross, right? Whatever. Worse than that, I find out that a mutual friend of ours, he is dating a girl who is a freshman at BYU. And to be frank, he was too old to be dating this girl too, but not as old as Joey, but still shouldn't have been dating this girl. But his girlfriend comes home from the library and she's like, this guy was hitting on me at the library. His name's Joey, blah, 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 whatever. He told me he's 28 and was trying to ask me out. And I said, no, I have a boyfriend. And he was like, I could be a better boyfriend type of whatever, you know, how creeps do that. Anyway, so then we realize that not only is he dating young girls, he's going to the BYU library, specifically hitting on freshmen and lying to them and saying that he's 28 when really he's 39. So at this point, I'm like, this guy's disgusting, okay? So I get a message from him on Facebook, which is funny in and of itself because he had my phone number at this point. Like, we went on a date, he had my phone number, but I love that he messaged me on Facebook because I would not have thought, like, I don't know how I would have saved it, but now I get to keep this message forever. So I'm going to show you what he said. Okay. Remember that this man is 40 years old. Also remember that we were Mormon at the time. Okay. Bree, I think you should rethink the idea that I'm too old to spend a couple eternities with. When our kids are first round draft picks, and we are living out our wildest dreams, would it be so bad to be in love with a two-sport college athlete who played pro basketball and went to Harvard and is still a virgin and has a rock-solid testimony of the church and will love you forever? Okay, a little bold to be sure, but worth another shot for dinner and a movie? Maybe. I read that message and I died. Like, I showed everyone. I showed all of my friends, people who knew him. I did not care. I was like, get a load of this guy. This is a 40-year-old man. I was baffled. Anyway, it took me like 3 days to respond. I'm going to show you the message. Please keep in mind that I was 21 and I was much nicer than I could have been. I should have been like, hey, you creep. I hear you creep on girls at the BYU library, whatever. But this is what I said back. So I said, Joey, there is no question that you've done a lot of great things in your life and you seem like a nice guy. Your age aside, because you are too old to date a 21-year-old, just wanted to put that out there, I still wouldn't go out with you again. I'm sorry, the last thing I want to be is rude, and maybe you were meaning it as a joke, but you saying those things to me is not going to make me want to date you. It does the opposite, actually. They're amazing, but when you flaunt them like that, they become negative, in my eyes at least. I'm sorry to be bold, but I'm just returning the favor. I could have been meaner, whatever. So I took 3 days to respond. I sent that message, and then he responded within 10 minutes. He says, thanks, Bree. It was meant to be a little tongue-in-cheek, and I actually do shy away from talking about those things in normal conversation. I already knew all of that because you told me that on our date. But when girls around here are so often deceived by a jacked-up truck and a new Vivint watch, didn't know Vivint made watches, one is sometimes forced to play the hand one is dealt, and I'm certainly not ashamed of what I've accomplished nor who I am. And you're in the minority of 21-year-olds I've asked out. Doubt it. But I do understand. You may think differently when you marry that 25-year-old who has no idea who he is. But thanks for your response and your point of view. Have a great weekend, babe. Okay, kidding on the babe part. Another winky face. I never responded to that message, and obviously that was so long ago, but the thing that's so funny about all of this is that he still, every time he sees me on a dating app, he likes me. And not only that, he is still lying about his age. I just turned 35, which means 35 plus 18. I'm bad at math, but I'm pretty sure that's 53. And on his Hinge, he says he's 37, which is basically my age. And not only that, I get stories from girls all the time talking about how creepy he is to them. Like, he's still just such a creep, and I'm so sorry, but he still has Satan in his eyes. His eyes are still black pits, and it is so, he's just like haunting me. I swear he's haunting me. I was at a yoga class, he showed up, and I had to like, anyway, that's the end of my story. I wonder if he's still a virgin.
So I have a Tinder man horror story. And this shit happened like 3 weeks ago, and I'm gonna tell you about it. Okay, so about like 3 weeks ago, I matched with this guy on Tinder, and we talked for like 3 days, and the conversation was good. So I was like, you know what? Here's my number. Like, let's text over here. And he was like, okay, great. And you know, the conversation kept going well for like 2-3 days, and then he was like, can I have your Snap? And I was like, sure, because you guys know how I am about Snap. I fucking hate it. And so, like, 4 or 5 days into talking, he was like, so when are you going to plan our date? And I was like, I find that a little weird, but I'll put that to the side. And I let it slide and whatever. And I remember I was like, why do I plan the date? You plan the date. And he was like, oh, you're one of those. I was like, okay. First red flag. And then, anyway, so, like, a little, like, fast forward. He was like, just letting you know, the first time we meet, we will be fucking. And I don't use protection, so I will be finishing inside of you. And I was like, what? And, like, we got into a fight over it, and he was like, well, it's how I mark my territory. Like, what? And that's when I was like, okay, enough with this guy, and I, like, ghosted him. I made the mistake of not removing him, and I'll tell you why. So about a week later, I went out with a few friends, and we were, like, dancing, drinking, having fun, and I posted on my Snapchat story where I was. And I remember, like, a few hours after I posted it, I was, like, dancing, and I looked to my right, and I see the guy. The fucking guy from Tinder. The creepy-ass, like, that guy. Like, I saw him. So, anyway, because I was, like, a little tipsy and whatever, I was like, you know what? I'm scared, but let me just be nice to this guy and not, like, you know, tell him to go fuck off or whatever. Like, I should have. And I was like, oh my god, hey. And he was like, oh, you know, I wanted to meet you so bad, and I saw that you were here, so I just took initiative and came. And I was like, oh my god, that's fucking weird. And I was like, oh, okay. And, you know, he grabbed me and, like, tried to dance with me, and he was very touchy, and I was so uncomfortable. Like, he was very touchy. Like, he was squeezing everything of mine. It was, like, not fun whatsoever. And he was, like, force kissing me and stuff, and it just, like, wasn't fun. And I was, like, tipsy, but I wasn't that, you know, I wasn't that far gone. And I was, like, nodding to my friends, and I was like, no, no, no. And they were like, okay. And I had my guy friend there, and he was like, I'll take care of it. And he told the guy pretty much, like, you gotta go, or else we're gonna call security, like, you gotta go. Yeah, it was really creepy. Go to part 2. Part 2, Tinder man horror story. Okay, sorry, I have to rush. But, yeah, so after he left, like, we just danced, and, like, my night was just, like, ruined. So I was like, can we please go home? And then he texted me, and he was like, I'm so sorry, you had a bad time. I'll make it up to you, I promise. And I was like, yeah. Why isn't this shit coming out? And I was like, yep, you're done. So anyway, I no longer talk to him. He is now blocked. And not even on any more dating apps. Like, I'm just done. That shit scared the fuck out of me. So yeah, sometimes it's okay to ghost. Just saying. Sometimes it's okay. Ugh. But anyway, so I'm going to a club tonight, like a real club. It's called Birch in Hoboken, New Jersey, and I'm promoting it. So if you're in Jersey, head over there, babe. But I am rushing, and I will be right back with my outfit. Here's the fit. Oh my god, I haven't worn this dress in so long. Y'all better be at Birch tonight. Just saying.
Allow me to tell you about an interesting date I went on with a guy who wanted a heck of a lot more than I bargained for. I've not been on a date in well over a year and a half. Also with that, I've never had a relationship, but that does not mean that I have not had some interesting date stories, okay? So sit back, relax, and allow me to tell you why I'm still single. There's so many interesting ones, I don't know where to start. You know what? I've nicknamed them all, so let's begin with Dan, the dogging man. So let me take you back to 2020. I was 18, he was 22, and this was literally like a few days before we went into lockdown, which is crazy. We met each other on Tinder, and this is the one and only, the first and last time I've ever gone on a Tinder date. Never again. Oh, I hate dating apps as it is, and that is definitely not a dating app, okay? That is a booty call app, and I learned that pretty quickly on this date.
Well, technically I learned it after the date. Allow me to explain. So like I said, we met on Tinder, we messaged for like a couple of days, and I already knew of who he was. So that's the only reason I went on this date, okay? That's why dating apps terrify me. I don't like meeting up with strangers. So I already knew of him, so I was like, okay, let's do it. At the time, I'd only ever been on dates that were like, take me to Nando's or whatever, you know what I mean? And he was like, oh, do you want to go for a drink? And I was like, wow, that's really mature. That's really cool. Okay, let's go for a drink. So he picked me up a couple of days later and we went to a really shit bar, honestly, in my hometown. It's shocking. I can't even believe I've actually been in there. And that's not me trying to sound like ungrateful for where he took me. Like, it was absolutely fine. I don't care where we go as long as we're like connecting, but just the bar has like a reputation of being quite tragic. Anyway, so we went to this bar and, you know, got a couple of drinks and everything, and we were actually getting on really, really well. Like, we was in there for a good like hour and a half, I want to say. Talked about all the usual stuff, you know, family, likes, dislikes and everything. Like I said, we got on really, really well. And then a conversation that we landed upon, which at the time I genuinely thought was quite normal because it was very heavily talked about. I was still like just fresh out of college at that point. We talked about like virginity and stuff like that, and, you know, obviously I was like, well, I am very much still a virgin, okay? Which is still true to this day, I'll be honest with you. He was like, oh, I really respect you for that. You've got a lot of self-respect for that. Which boys always say to me, and I'm like, are you basically saying that girls who aren't, like, don't have respect for themselves? Because that's an odd message to send. Please don't say that, girlies. You're absolutely fine. Anyway, this is context, okay? So he knows this. So we have a couple more drinks and then he's like, oh, do you want to, like, it's getting kind of late, should we leave? And I was like, yeah, honestly, because this place is a bit crap. Anyway, so we walk out and he's like, oh, do you want to maybe like go for a drive? By this point, I think it's like 9:30 at night. Like I said, we're still in my hometown, so I still feel pretty safe. He was like, do you want to go for a drive? And I was like, oh, I know what a drive means. I know what drive means. But I was like, huh, okay. I was still in my very much phase of, I really don't know how to say no. Like, I find it really, really awkward. Do you know what I still do now? Honestly, I'm like, oh, I don't want to say no and sound weird, but I was like, okay, let's go for a drive. And here's where it all goes downhill. Oh my goodness. We get in his car, we're driving for about 10 minutes or whatever, still chatting on the way, and he takes me to a very strange location, okay? He takes me to our local leisure centre, like our local swimming pool's car park. Like I said, it's what, 9:30 at night. We're not going swimming. I don't know why there's quite a few cars in the car park. I wasn't expecting that, and also don't know why he took me there. But at the time I was like, oh, maybe he just wanted to go to a secluded place, free to just sort of leave your car and just park up for a bit and just have a chat. Okay, fair enough. Maybe he just thought of this off the top of his head and was like, well, yeah, we'll go there. Spoiler alert, that's not the case. So we park up and we're talking for, I want to say at least like another half an hour. And when I say we're talking, I mean I am, okay? Because from this point on, hello, he barely answered any questions about himself. He kept directing the conversation back towards me and was like, no, I want to hear more about you. And I was like, look, respectfully, okay, I can't build a connection with you if I don't know anything about you, because it feels like I'm doing all the talking here. Also, it was a very dimly lit car park, and I think the light from the lamppost was on me, but not on him, so he was in the dark. It just felt a bit ominous, you know, he wasn't saying anything. Then, now, this is a very key detail, okay, quite funny, but also I am so glad that I have sisters that are willing to do this, or even think to do this without me asking them, okay? I hadn't realised they'd been blowing up my phone, you know, for the past sort of half an hour anyway, while I was in this location, saying like, are you okay? Like, what's going on? Blah, blah, blah. I just sort of kept looking at the phone and going, oh, just leave me alone, I'll text you after. I'll tell you what happened, like, after. I thought they were just eager to know about the date. At this point, I rarely went on any. At this point, we're sitting in the car having a chat, and I see a car drive past in front. Bear in mind, no other cars are moving, okay? This car came into the car park, drove past our car, and circled around, and then went back out. Looked at the number plate, and I was like, that looks like my sister's car. I was fairly certain that that was my sister's number plate and my sister's car, and I was like, I wonder what she's doing here. Maybe just checking up on me. A little bit weird, bit overprotective. I thought nothing of it, and I was like, do you know what? I'll just ask her when I get home. Kept talking for a little bit more, and then I think the section that we were in of the car park was closing, so we moved to another section. At this point, it was like 11 o'clock at night, and like I said, we'd been talking for the past couple hours, or at least I had, so I wasn't really feeling much anymore, and I was like, I don't know about this, you know, and I was like, honestly, we don't have to move to a different spot. I was like, oh, do you know what? I've actually got to be up early in the morning. I'm going on like a little, you know, trip with my mum and my sisters, like, maybe you could drop me home. He was like, no, let's just stay out a little bit longer, let's just chat for a little bit more. I love talking to you. And I was like, oh, okay, fine. So we moved on to a different spot in the car park, and I I carried on talking. Bearing in mind that when I go on first dates, or I'm around men in general, I get very nervous, very anxious. I feel very nauseous, you know, it's just not a very good situation. And I end up probably spewing a lot of crap because I'm not really thinking about what's coming out of my mouth. So I'd love to know what I filled the time with, quite honestly. So it's building, right? I know that a kiss or something is looming. I know it's coming, all right? He offers me gum and everything. And he starts leaning in and fidgeting in his seat. Bearing in mind, he still hasn't really said anything, okay? The conversation's all been about me. He leans in and he goes, do you want to know what I think? Sorry. Oh. Ick. I hate that. I absolutely hate that. TikTokers made me hate that face. I'll fast forward, okay, we did a little kissy and had like a few little kisses. One thing you should probably know about me is that I find kissing very, very awkward. I still do. I think it's just because I maybe haven't found the right person to kiss yet or something. But either way, every time I've done it, I've just felt like, oh, this is really awkward. But I've always been told that I'm quite good. So I take grace in that. But I don't know what I'm doing. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, so we had a few kisses and I was like, do you know what? This is not. And he was trying to make advances like he wanted it to go a bit further. And I was like, whoa, hold your horses, bucko. That is not going to happen tonight. This is a very bizarre statement to come out of my mouth. Okay, I shouldn't have to say this, but I eventually convinced him to drive me home at like, what, midnight? You should never have to convince a guy to drop you home from a date. Red flag, red flag, red flag, red flag, red flag. So drops me home, and for some prior context as well, when he picked me up like a few doors down from mine. Fair enough, you wouldn't know the exact house, that's all right. But on the way back, he also then dropped me at like the end of my road, which is like a couple minutes walk up to my house. You know, it's pitch black, it's midnight. And I was like, oh, you can park outside my house, like it's fine. Like no one's awake or whatever, if that's what you're worried about. And he was like, no, it's better this way. What are you talking about? On the way back from the car park that he took me to, he kept going, oh wow, that got really intense, didn't it? That got really heated. And I was thinking, I don't know if we're in the same car, mate, but I weren't feeling what you were feeling. Maybe I have that effect on people. I don't know, but I weren't feeling it. For you, maybe, not for me. So I go in my house and my mum and my sister are literally waiting behind the front door like, oh my God, are you okay? What happened? And I was like, yeah, it wasn't really that great. And they were like, do you know where he took you? Because they were checking on like Life 360. That's why she obviously followed me in the car park. I was like, yeah, he took me to the swimming pool car park. Like, what on earth? And she went, no, he took you to a popular dogging spot. What the fuck? Needless to say, we did no barking of any kind, and he definitely did not get a second date. Thinking about it now, I might be traumatised by that date, honestly, but I did end up going on more. So if you want to hear more date stories, let me.
I want to tell you about one of the worst dates I ever went on. I see so many people doing these videos and I thought it was about time I told you guys about my dating horror stories. This was when I was like 19 and I was actually living in the Philippines. Shout out to the Philippines. I love the Philippines. I lived there for a long time. I was a 19-year-old girl. I was young and innocent and I was on Tinder and I matched with this guy and he looked really cute. He was British. So I was like, absolutely yes, give me some of that. He looked pretty cute in photos. The photos were kind of filtered though, which is such an ick now that I think about it. And also he didn't really have any photos like standing up and he mostly like showed off his tattoos. Like all of his photos were of his tattoos, which should have been red flag number one. He had like a tattoo sleeve that he was clearly obsessed with, but I didn't really think anything of it. I thought it was hot, so I was like, okay, that's fine. We matched and we agreed to meet at a restaurant. So I was always late. Always. I'm still late to everything, but I was always like hella late. So I showed up a little bit late. He was already at the restaurant and when I get there he looks like the photo, so I'm like, okay, I didn't get catfished, he looks fine. Little did I know. So I just got to the restaurant and I'm standing there and he didn't get up to greet me, which I thought was a little bit weird. I was like, okay, right off the bat, like he's not the biggest gentleman. That's kind of a turn off. But yeah, he didn't get up to say hi to me or anything. He was just like, oh hey, whatever. He was like nice but didn't get up and I was like, that's rude. We order some food, we sit there, we chat. Right off the bat, honestly, he was not my vibe. He was just like he just talked about his tattoos the whole time. Like, my man, I can see you have tattoos. That's enough. Like, that's all he wanted to talk about like the whole time. And it was the classic like a big ass lion and a clock and a rose and stuff, and I'm like, oh my god. So the whole time he talked about his tattoos. He wasn't a gentleman. I don't know, I wasn't really liking him that much. We weren't really vibing. His personality wasn't the best. Like, his personality was just his sleeve tattoo. That was all he had to offer, really. But I still try to like talk to him and be friendly, and it was fine. But I noticed that he hadn't gotten up for like, not even for the bathroom, for nothing, for 2 hours. And so finally we get the bill and everything, and I'm like, okay, I'm probably not gonna see this guy again because I'm not really vibing with him. Get the bill, we get our things, and we are leaving, and I get up, and then I see that he gets up, and I'm just like, part 2 of my dating horror story. Go watch part 1 if you haven't. So this guy gets up after we had like a 2-hour long date where he hadn't gotten up the whole time. And I'm standing up, right? I look back and I see that he's standing up, and tell me why this man was this tall. I'm having flashbacks. Now listen, I do not want to see anybody getting upset about this. This is a story time and this is my personal experience. Now listen, no disrespect to our short kings. We love you guys too. You guys also deserve to find love. Okay, this is not the problem. The problem is that I'm 5'3". Okay, I'm 5'2" if I'm not lying. So this man, if he was up to here, he must have been like 5 foot. No, less. What is this? Like... Okay, I had to take a second to compose myself because every time I remember this story, it's so funny. So I'm 5'2", so I'm like super tiny. So this man was so small. Obviously, he did not show his height in photos at all. He was not like standing up in any photos. Like he was clearly like, he knows he's super tiny and he didn't disclose that, which I think is just weird. Like, I don't know. Nonetheless, like, again, no judgment, but I think it was just so funny because you guys could not, like, you guys had to be there to see the face of shock that I had. I was just like, I don't think I even hit it well. I was just like, what? And not just that, guys, it's also the fact that this man, like, didn't have the best, like, attitude and personality. Like, just, like, it was, I still to this day can't believe how tiny he was. And no, I don't think he was a little person or anything like that. Like, he did not, like, he was just extremely short. He was just an extremely short king. Like, that is my horror story, and that's why maybe we should start putting our heights in our dating profiles. Oh my god, please let me know if I'm alone in this, because I can't be the only one that this has happened to. But I seriously, like, I still remember that and laugh. That is one of my many dating horror stories. I have so many, and I've actually been catfished more than once. Like, this was not the first nor last time. Tinder, get it together.
Hi, my name is Taylor, and I'm going to tell you about one of my Tinder horror stories. So anyway, I was 18 and I had just kind of gotten on Tinder, and I was talking to this guy. I talked for a while and he was like, do you want to go out for drinks? And I was like, sure, sounds good. Go to this drink place. I get there first. He says he's approaching me. I look up. The man that is approaching me looks nothing like his pictures, like vaguely, but also not really at all. So he also looked way, way older than what he looked like. And I was like, oh, red flag. Anyway, get to the date and it was horrible. We were talking and it was so awkward. We had almost nothing in common. The conversation wasn't flowing. It was noticeably awkward for both of us. And I was 18. I didn't know any better. I should have just gotten up and said, hey, I'm going to go now. But I was kind of just dropping vague hints like, okay, well, it's getting late. I should go. And he'd be like, no, let me like buy you another drink. So I stayed. Anyway, gets towards the end of the night, I go to leave and he was like, oh, do you want to go for a walk on like the boardwalk? Like, because we were on a beach. And I should have said no, but I did. And I went for a walk. And it was still noticeably awkward at this point. Anyway, we're walking and Mans goes to grab my hand. And anybody who knows me, even at the age of 18, gross. I don't like it. So he goes to do that. I like pulled my hand away and it was like really awkward. And I was like, oh, don't do that, please. And we're walking and we get to the end of this like boardwalk area and Mans like turns to me and goes to kiss me. And I was like, no. And I dodged it and it was so awkward. And I'm pretty sure I was like, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. Went to the bathroom, like text my best friend everything that was happening. She was like, you gotta get out of there. Anyway, go back out and I was like, yo, my best friend's dying. I have to go home right now. And he was like, okay, well, let me drive you home. And I should have said no, but I was like, after a bit of arguing, he ended up taking me home, get in his car. I get into his fucking passenger seat And I look at the door and I'm like, brethren, where is your door handle? And he was like, oh, sorry, this car only opens from the outside. And I was like, you could have told me that before I got in your car. Anyway, it drops me off. Get out the car, goes in for another kiss. And I was like, dude, like, don't. Anyway, I go back inside. Mans has the audacity. He texts me when I get inside. He was like, hey, Taylor, look, it was really fun hanging out with you, but I think this isn't going to work out between us. I think you're a fun girl, but I think, I don't think you're right for me. So we're just going to leave it there. And I was like, okay, that's fine. That's fine. If that's the call that you want to make, sure thing, broski. And then I went inside, and now I know how to leave dates that I don't want to be on anymore.